Okay, so I'm currently driving, and I know this is not a good idea. I shouldn't be doing this, and yada yada yada. But I just had a kind of a eureka moment that I really wanted to talk about and kind of get off my chest. And yes, this is a stupid angle, but you know what? We're gonna just deal with it because that's the kind of person I am. But anyways, so for a couple weeks, I've been in this state of terrible anxiety and feeling worthless and feeling guilty for feeling these things and feeling like I can't do this anymore. And by this I mean like school and work and yada yada, and just feeling like I want to give up and like the things that I'm working towards aren't worth it, which is not true at all. And the thing is like, obviously, as someone training to be a therapist and someone who has been to therapy for many, many years, I know how to feel better. I know how to, disrupt these negative thoughts and get into some better positive thinking. Like, I know how to make myself feel better. And I know that I should be, replacing these thoughts with positive reality thoughts. But the thing is that these past couple weeks, my depression has completely taken over those skills that I have. Whenever I talk about my depression, I always talk about it as if it were kind of I always say a demon that kind of lives in my head. And some people think that's weird and scary and whatever. But the basis of my depression is that it controls me and it makes me do things that I wouldn't normally, and it makes me feel and think things that aren't true, and it's just kind of like a big bully that takes over your brain, and you have to actively fight to be yourself, to think, in those positive ways, to, keep moving forward, be motivated, all that kind of stuff. So part of, this journey of me understanding my depression and working through it was to externalize my depression, because if you, view your depression or anxiety or whatever as an integral, part of yourself, then you have way less power over it. You have way less, domain over it. It's that much harder to manage, because it's just oh, well, it's a part of me, so I can't really, do anything about it. So a huge part of, me healing and beginning to heal and whatnot has been, my thinking and my ability to externalize, my depression symptoms and, turning it into the monster that it really is. So for the past couple of weeks, like I said, I've just been super down and super unmotivated and feeling like I can't make it. I cannot make these last 2 semesters of grad school, and I can't succeed at work. And after I graduate, if I even graduate, I'm not going to find a job, and I'm going to be poor and live on the streets, and all these, the tsunami of negativity. And it's really been controlling me for these past couple weeks, and it's really been affecting not only my mood, but like how I'm interacting with people. And by that, I just mean, like, instead of, you know, having a lighthearted conversation, I want to talk about, you know, how upset I am, which, I mean, obviously I'm allowed to talk about that kind of stuff, and if, you know, people are my friends or, you know, whatever, then they should be willing to listen. But it's not necessarily, you know, the type of conversations you want to have regularly, you know what I mean? So I was just listening to a podcast, I forgot the name of it, but it was just talking about mindfulness and, you know, kind of motivation, and also working through processes. Well, this particular episode was working through processes of, like, grief, and how people, you know, go through the stages of, you know, being angry and sad and acceptance and that kind of thing. And I was just thinking, you know, the part of the podcast where we were doing mindfulness, I was just like, I go to work and I try to do mindfulness, you know, every time I'm there. I lead mindfulness groups, I do meditation groups where I participate with the kids. I try to incorporate that kind of stuff for the kids I work with. I recommend it to, you know, my friends or my family who are looking for some kind of outlet and whatnot. And it's just like a very integral part of my life as, you know, a social worker, therapist, you know, friend, whatever. But I'm not allowing myself the time or the ability to use mindfulness for myself. And I haven't been making time to use my coping skills, and I haven't been, you know, meditating, which I used to really like. I haven't been journaling. I haven't been doing anything. I haven't even been coloring. Like, I have really been neglecting myself and my self-care. And part of that is because it's just the kind of person I am. Like, I have 20 different things to get done on any given day. So those are my top priorities, and I am not my own top priority, which is obviously a problem, but that's just kind of how life is right now with how busy I am and whatever. But part of it is just because my depression has made me so unmotivated to change and use my coping skills and use, you know, different techniques that are going to help me get out of this funk. It's like the demon of depression is addicted to being depressed. So it will unmotivate me, make me not even want to try to feel better. You know, it will make me just feel worse and worse and continue to cut off my resources to feeling better. And like, now that I'm in this state of mind and I'm thinking about it, it's like I didn't realize it was happening at, you know, during that time that, you know, like, my depression is controlling me right now, and, you know, kind of doing a double take, as, you know, it's not only making me depressed, but making me unable to get myself out of that rut. But I couldn't see that, you know, during that time. But today, I was just really like, I want to feel better. Like, I hate feeling like this, and I'm sick of it. And not saying that, you know, for these past couple weeks, I was like, I didn't want to feel better. I did, but it wasn't as big of a necessity as it is today. Just like, you start out in these little depression ruts where you think it's only going to be a couple of days, like, maybe it's just not the time of the month, speaking like period wise, but like, there's just different influxes of feelings and moods and physical feelings, like, with each month and week and that kind of thing. So like for me, I was just kind of like, well, you know what, in a couple of days, like, I'll be okay. Like, it's just a passing kind of thing where you're low for a little bit and then you're fine. But this just kept going on and going on and going on for weeks, and I was just finally like, what am I waiting for? Like, usually it kind of sorts itself out, because at this point, I am on antidepressants and I have been for years, so it's kind of just like a natural roller coaster, but it had just gone on for so long that I was like, I have to make this better. Like, I am the one who's going to have to do the work so that I feel better and, I'm feeling motivated and that kind of thing. But it's so weird how, like, you can do all these sorts of things for years, and you practice them and practice them and practice them, and like, that is what you need to do. But when it actually comes down to it, it's a lot harder to be like, oh yeah, like, I am the one who has to do the work to make me stop having these these feelings, and I need to be the one to tell myself that no, I'm not gonna end up amounting to nothing. I have a bright future ahead of me and whatnot. It's like, but you kind of just don't realize because of how your brain is processing things during, your low moments. So, I was listening to the podcast, and I was just like, I harp about mindfulness all the time, but I haven't used it in the past couple of weeks to help myself, and that doesn't make any sense, especially because I'm just feeling so crappy lately. And I'm like, just having the realization, I mean, I knew this before, but now it's like really hitting me that I have to schedule like self-care time for me, because I never do that. And even if I'm taking like a weekend off, like I did this weekend, I took the weekend off work so I could go home to my hometown and do wedding stuff for a friend. But just taking off work, or putting off a school assignment till the next day is not self-care. And it sounds like it is, because it's like, oh yeah, you get a little bit of break, you don't have to be worrying and yada yada yada. But if you're not doing anything productive, and you're not challenging yourself in those moments of freedom, and you're not working on yourself or doing something for yourself that makes you happy, then it's not self-care. And that's not what I was doing this weekend, because everything this weekend was, for my friend, and I, barely got a moment to myself, which is, fine. Like, I'm not complaining about having, to do these things for her, because I want her to have fun and be happy and whatnot. But I didn't contemplate not having a moment to myself to work on myself, or do even the little smallest bit of self-care to kind of keep me moving along. So I know this is kind of just like a mind dump, but I really wanted to talk about it and get it out because it's like, even though I know all these things already, it's like still like a revelation and like a realization when you're actually like, yeah, I don't know why I haven't been trying to feel better this whole time, you know, but I do know why. So I kind of just wanted to make this video so that I could kind of keep myself on track and make sure I stick to actively trying to have better self-care, because it's just always been something that I have not been very good at. And if I want to stay in in the fields that I'm in, I have to start, working on myself again, and not feeling like, oh, well, I did the work a couple of years ago, so I should be completely fine now, because that's never going to be the truth. It's always, a work in progress. So hopefully I can, finally put in the work to get motivation for other things, not feel worthless, not feel guilty, replace negative thoughts with positive, reframe things. And I'm going to try harder at doing little things for me, even if that means, meditating for 20 minutes or journaling, because I even bought a couple new journals lately, but I haven't written anything in them. So I just want to kind of hold myself accountable to doing, better self-care and just feeling better in general, because I don't enjoy feeling like this. So I guess that's it, because I need to get off and, keep driving. So I'll see you guys next time.